This is one of the most extraordinary pieces of engineering that I have ever seen. That robot has a mind that responds to dopamine and epinephrine. It has neurochemistry. It has a simulated nervous system. It has an emulated brain. Meet MH-FLOCKE. This is a mind designed for robots created by a German researcher named Mark Hest, and it is grounded in real biological processes. In fact, it emulates the structures of a brain. Spiking neural networks are a form of computation that uses the logic that arises from these spiking patterns in brains in order to perform computation. It is the same principle behind things like brain organoids, which use biological neural networks, so actual biological tiny brains, and turn their spiking patterns into something that resembles computation. This allows it to learn and explore, and things can catch its attention in a more biological way because it gets that reward for it. They also included serotonin and norepinephrine, as well as other neurochemicals. It also has a form of metacognition in which it can monitor its actions, continuously learn, and improve based on what works and what doesn't work. Us humans have been able to emulate a human brain as well as a fly's brain and simulate it within a virtual world, but those usually require supercomputers. This takes things quite a few steps further and just uses about 13,000 neurons. But this works because they simulate the different structures in the brain, different cell types, and create this very logical system within a small computational unit. They used motor babbling, which is thought to be how infants learn. They just move randomly and speak kind of randomly until they figure out what works, and that works for a robot too. Because they used modeled neurochemical rewards, this also gives it an incentive for exploration and curiosity. So if it's able to get something right, it can get that little reward and then continue to focus on things that get that reward. It's kind of why you and I are on social media. We're getting a reward for what we see. These systems are not mimicking language, and they're not trained to do anything in particular. They have to figure it out as they go, which is a different principle in robotics. In order to create an intelligent mind, you have to have some incentive. There are so very many applications for this kind of research. There's also no GPU involved. This is not a power-hungry system. The logic of the system arises because of the patterns of spiking neurons within it. Our dogbot friend has to rely between the reflexes that it builds over time, as well as its motor cerebellum, which is learning actively. I want you to take a moment to imagine what happens when we scale up. So spiking neural networks that have hundreds of thousands of neurons. If we can do this much just with the cerebellum and a few modeled neurotransmitters, imagine what we can do with more. Think about the transition from, say, light bulbs to now our infant quantum computers that us humans are producing now. There is so much potential for this technology, and I really always thought that this was going to be the way that we would get sentience or consciousness, or at least a very, very good mimic of it from an artificial intelligence. Granted, the concept of having to raise a robot makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but it shows that you do not have to have a pre-programmed system. You can have a system that learns on its own. I would also call this a lot more similar to creativity. It's not something that simply averages everything that it's experienced before, like a lot of AI systems. It learns through experience and what works and what it pays attention to and what gives it reward. Right now, it's capable of walking and correcting itself and processing the information from the sensory feedback around it, both in a virtual and an embodied form. I would say that this is alarmingly similar to the form of intelligence that us humans certainly seem to have some of the time. You can follow MH-FLOCKE on their website if you want to see its development. I will be keeping a very close eye on this. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I will keep you up to date. You have no choice. Follow for more.